everyone, Technical Ajay here. Pokemon Emerald with only one execute was weird at the end. So today we figure out, can we reach Pokemon FIRERED with a team of only one Voltorb? Voltorb's speed stat is really great, but all other stats are not so good. Let's get into the rules. In combat I can only use Voltorb. Other Pokemon for items are allowed. No cheats or cheating, no items in battle, only Pokeballs, held items outside of combat are allowed. Let's do this. And also, if you enjoy, make sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for more. Let's do this. I name myself Ajay and name the rival COVID-19. So as always, we use the universal Pokemon randomizer to replace Squirtle with Voltorb, so that you can do the whole run with it. I replace Squirtle so that my rival will have Bulbasaur, the one who resists electric moves. All other starters are weak to electric moves. Name my Voltorb Volt because it suits it pretty well. I don't want to say this, but I even lost my very first rival battle. This just shows how hard this challenge is going to be. As you all know, the first gym leader is Brock, so I have to round up a little bit. But the plus point is, we learn Sonic Boom at level 15, which is a move in Gen 3 that always inflicts 20 damage.
A few moments later.
Eventually, we hit level 15 and kick-started Brock, and it was a fairly one-sided battle. Both Geodude and Onix were easy 2 shots with Sonic Boom. I didn't expect it to go so well. I thought this would be the hardest gym for us, but it turned out to be the easiest. Then was time for the gym leader Misty. First up was Staryu, who was an easy one-shot with Spark. And then next up was Starmie, who outsped me and hit me with a massive water pulse, but I managed to hit the next Spark and paralyze it. And then I managed to outspeed and finish it off with the next Spark. Next up was an easy rival fight against rival COVID-19. First up was Pidgeot, who was an easy one-shot with Spark. Then next up was Attack, who was also an easy one-shot with Spark. And then third up was Abra, who couldn't fight back but still was a needed 2-shot with Spark. And then last up was Bulbasaur, who resisted of Spark, so I go for Sonic Boom, which deals just about half damage, but it puts me to sleep. But I wake up the alternate turn and finish it off with just 2 more Sparks. His Venusaur might give us trouble in the future. Next up was another rival fight at the SS End. First up was Pidgeot, and I have learned Rollout, so I first go for Rollout for just about half damage, then one more rollout takes out the Pidgeot, and then next up was Eradicate, so my overpowered rollout takes out in just one hit, and then next up was Kadabra, who shares the same fate, going down to just one rollout. And last up was Ivysaur, who was also an easy one-shot with rollout. Next up was the time for the third gym leader, Lieutenant Surge. He starts off by Voltorb and I start off by rollout. My first rollout deals decent damage, but even though my second rollout didn't take it out, but I managed to finish it off with my third rollout. Next up was Pikachu, who goes down in just one rollout but paralyzes me with static. And then last up was Raichu, who uses double team, but I fortunately don't miss and take it out the next turn. Next up was another rival fight against rival COVID-19. First up was Pidgeot, who was an easy one-shot with Spark, and then next up was Gyarados, who was intimidated, so attack is lowered, but easily goes down in just one Spark. And then next up was Growlithe, who also has intimidated, so attack is lowered even more, but it also easily goes down in just one Spark. And then next up was Kadabra, who was also an easy one-shot with Spark. And then last up was Ivysaur, who takes a decent amount of damage by Swift, but hits me with weak Razor Leaves and then puts me to sleep. But I managed to wake after 2 turns and take it out slowly by Sonic Booms and Swifts. His Venusaur might be real trouble for us in the future. Then was time for the 4th gym leader, Erika. She was a grass type gym leader, so this could be tough. Started off with Victory Bell, so I go for Rollout and it crit for just about half damage, and the next one takes me to red health, but then she hits with a hyper potion. My next rollout does well over half, and then I outspeed and take it out in one more rollout. The next up was Tangela, who was an easy one shot with rollout, and then last up was Wild Blue, so I go for Swift and then just just over half damage. Then I hit one more swift, then he paralyzes me, and then one more swift ends the fight. This was a bit easier than expected. Then it was time for Giovanni, and we couldn't do much against his rock type Pokemon, so I just decided to go for a rollout because its power gradually increases. First up was Onyx, so I powered up my rollout, and it was a very long battle. It goes down in just 4 rollouts. And then next up was Rhyhorn, who was now an easy one shot with rollout thanks to the overpowerness. And then last up was Kangaskhan, so I'll go for a rollout and slowly whittle it down. But he tail whips me and mega punches me, which leaves me to only 6 health. But it gets paralyzed with static. On the following turn, he gets fully paralyzed, letting me win the battle. That was very insane luck. Then was time for the 5th gym leader, Koga. It was a poison type gym, even though I get the TM for Thunderbolt at the Celadon city. And then I head right into the battle. First up was Coughing, who was an easy one shot with Thunderbolt, and the next up was Mug. So I was confused to go for a rollout or Thunderbolt, but I eventually went for Thunderbolt and it did well over half, but he uses minimize, but fortunately I don't miss. And then next up was Coughing, who was an easy one shot with Thunderbolt, and then last up was Wheezing, who hangs on red held by Thunderbolt, and then he uses Sludge for a lot of damage and poisons me, and then he heals with a hyper potion. I go for one more Thunderbolt, he heals again, and I take poison damage, but I managed to hit the next Thunderbolt and hurt myself in poison. He couldn't attack, he was slower than me, and then I hit my next Thunderbolt and I managed to outspeed and take it out the next turn. This was a very close fight. If he chose to attack even one more, he might have lost. Next up was the Silph rival fight. First up was Pidgeot, who has quick attack, so he hits us first, but easily causing just one Thunderbolt. And then next up was Gyarados, who was Intimidated, so attack is lowered, but it also easily causing just one Thunderbolt. And then next up was Rowlet, who also has Intimidated, so attack is lowered again, but it also causing just one Thunderbolt. And then next up was Alakazam, who also is a one shot with Thunderbolt even after 2 intimidates. And then last up was Venusaur, so I go for Thunderbolt, he misses Sleep Powder to give me a chance to hit one more Thunderbolt, then he puts me to sleep, but he misses the next Razor Leaf but manages to hit the next 2, then we wake up and hit him with the Thunderbolt, then he misses Razor Leaf again and we manage to take it out with the next Thunderbolt. Then it was time for Giovanni. First up was Nidorino, who was an easy one shot with Thunderbolt, and then next up was Nidoqueen, who is immune to ground moves, so I had to go for Swift, but then he tail whips me, lowering my defense, and then I managed to shoot one more Swift for just about half damage, and double kicks me for almost no damage. Then I go for one more shot, taking the red health and goes down before hitting one double kick. And then next up was Kangaskhan, so he fake outs me for going down to just one Thunderbolt. And then last up was Rhyhorn. It was very intense. I go for a rollout for almost no damage, but then if Fury attacks me, then I have to go for a rollout again. He is now paralyzed. He gets fully paralyzed the following turn and then hits me with Storm. I go for a rollout and he gets fully paralyzed on the turn he could finish me and letting me win the battle. It was very close. Then it was time for the 6th gym leader, Sabrina. First up was Kadabra, who was an easy one shot with Thunderbolt, and then next up was Mr. Mime, who shared the same fate in running out just one Thunderbolt, and the third up was Venonat, who was also easy one shot with Thunderbolt, and then last up was Alakazam, who shared the same fate, not just one Thunderbolt. Literally everything was a one shot. Easiest gym by now. Then it was time for the fire gym leader, Blaine. First up was Growlithe, who was an easy one shot with Thunderbolt, but lowering attack with Intimidated. Then next up was Ponyta, who was an easy one shot with Thunderbolt. And then next up was Lapidash, who was surprisingly easy one shot with Thunderbolt. And last up was Arcanine, who hangs on by a sliver of a Thunderbolt, hits a massive fire blast to take me below half health, then he heals, but my next Thunderbolt takes it out. I think I got a low roll on the first one and a high roll on the second one. Then was time for the 8th gym leader, Giovanni. At level 77, we didn't stand a chance. Even at level 82, we lost. Finally, at level 87, I got this one. First up was Rhyhorn, who was an easy one-shot with hidden power, and then next up was Ductrio, who shared the same fate, limited to just one hidden power, and then third up was Nidoqueen, who hangs on by a hidden power, hits me with a massive earthquake, but one more hidden power takes it out, and then fourth up was Nidoking, who goes into red health by the hidden power, hits me with a massive earthquake, bringing me to only 21 health, then heals, and after one more healing session later, he goes down to just a few hidden powers. And then last up was Rhyhorn, who was the easy one shot with hidden power. There was one last rival fight before the Elite Four. First up was Pidgeot, who quick attacks me for going down to just one Thunderbolt. And then next up was this level 45 Rhyhorn, lower than Giovanni's Rhyhorn. He was an easy one shot with hidden power. And then next up was Gyarados, who was intimidated, so attack is lowered, but is also an easy one shot with Thunderbolt. And then fourth up was Rounded, who also has Intimidate, but he was also an easy one shot with Thunderbolt. And then after that was Alakazam, who was surprisingly also easy one shot with Thunderbolt. And then last up was his grass type Venusaur. I go for Thunderbolt. It deals 1/3 of his damage. He uses growth and damages me with Razor Leaf twice, but my all-in by fixing for 10 health, and then I finished off with one more Thunderbolt. This was a very close battle than you think it was. I don't know what's gonna happen in the champion battle. Hope it goes well. Then it was time for Elite Four Lorelei. First up was Dewgong, who was an easy one-shot with Thunderbolt, and then next up was Cloyster, who stalls a turn using Protect and stalls another turn using one more Protect for going down to just one Thunderbolt. And then third up was Slowbro, who was an easy one-shot with Thunderbolt. And then fourth up was Lapras, and was also a surprisingly easy one-shot with Thunderbolt. And last up was Jinx, who hangs on by Thunderbolt, heals with a full restore, puts me to sleep, and freezes me with Ice Punch. But that's when my Aspirate Berry, which heals Frozen, comes in and heals me with the freezing and let me knock out the Jinx. I am really surprised that the Jinx survived the Thunderbolt, even though it has very terrible defense. It was time for Elite Four Bruno, but this isn't happening. Eventually we get this one at level 91 where we win against him. Here's how it goes. First step was Onyx. I go for hidden power. He gets into red health, but he lowers my speed with Rock Tomb. I go for hidden power again, but he has healed with full restore. This time he's left with 1 HP, but Swift pushes him off. And then next up was another Onyx. So I go for one more hidden power. He takes him to red health, hits him with a massive earthquake, but I heal with the Almond Berry and finish it off with one more Swift. And then third up was Hitmonchan, who is almost a one-shot with Thunderbolt, hits me with a weak Rock Tomb, so we went just one more Thunderbolt. I surprisingly not healed. And then next up was Hitmonchan, who survives with 1 HP of a Thunderbolt, hits me with a Mega Cake, so we went just one more Thunderbolt after healing with a full restore. And then last up was Machamp, who is not quite a one-shot with Thunderbolt, but he misses Cross Chop, so going down to just one more Thunderbolt. It was time for Agatha. First up was Gengar, who was an easy one-shot with Thunderbolt, and then next up was Golbat, who shared the same fate, going down to just one Thunderbolt. And then third up was Arbok, who was intimidated, so attack is lowered, but also goes down to just one Thunderbolt. And then fourth up was Gengar, who was also an easy one-shot with Thunderbolt. And then last up was Haunter, who shared the same fate, going down to just one Thunderbolt. This was the easiest Elite Four. It was finally time for Elite Four lads. First up was Gyarados, who was intimidated, so attack is lowered the whole fight, but it easily goes on just one Thunderbolt. And then next up was Dragonite, who was an easy one shot with hidden power. And then next up was another Dragonite, who was also an easy one shot with hidden power. And then fourth up was Dragonite, so I go for hidden power. It deals just about half damage, then he hits me with Outrage and heals with a berry. Then I go for Thunderbolt. It leaves with 1 HP, he gets paralyzed, but he heals with a full restore. Then I go for 2 Thunderbolts and take it out, taking damage in process by Outrage. And then last up was Aerodactyl, who was as expected an easy one shot with Thunderbolt. This time Lance was very easy. I am glad that I got Hidden Power Dragon because it helps a lot against even like non-damaging Pokemon. Finally, it was time for Champion COVID-19 and it just isn't happening. I try over 200 times but finally get this one at level 100. This is exactly how it goes.
यार सच में कितना डरावना था ना.
As always, first up was Pidgeot, who was an easy one shot with Thunderbolt, and then next up was Rhydon. So I go for Hidden Power and it great for an easy one shot. That was really helpful. And then next up was Alakazam, who was an easy one shot with Thunderbolt. And then fourth up was Gyarados, who was Intimidate, so the attack is lowered, but it also goes down in one Thunderbolt. And then fifth up was Arcanine, it also has Intimidate, so the attack is lowered even more. But it goes into red health with one Thunderbolt, hits me with a flamethrower, and then it heals with a full restore. Then I go Thunderbolt again, it takes into 1 HP and paralyzes it. Then I decide to go for Hidden Power, but he heals again. Hidden Power crits for massive damage, but then he heals again with a full restore. I go for Thunderbolt and then go for Hidden Power, but the full restores again. I hit the Hidden Power and then one more Thunderbolt ends the Arcanine. How many full restores does he have? Last episode, so I go for Thunderbolt. It was a 3-shot. He uses Growth. Well, one more Thunderbolt taking into red health, but fortunately he heals with the berry for not a full restore range, letting me win the fight with one more Thunderbolt. We are now the Pokemon League champion. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for more. And let me know in the comment section below what should I do for my next Pokemon challenge. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next episode. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.